Thank you all so much for being here. My name is Umi Yanga, or Umi, and I'm a road safety consultant at Parachute. For those of you who don't know what Parachute is, we are Canada's national injury prevention charity dedicated to injury prevention. So we focus on creating programming, education, and doing advocacy on issues such as road safety, concussion, fall prevention, poisonings, and more. I have with me my co-facilitators of the Design Jam, Kiana and Aiden, who I'll let introduce. So Kiana, you want to go first?
Awesome. Thanks, Umi. Hi, everyone. I'm Kiana. I'm a fourth year student at the University of Calgary, and I'm studying exercise and health physiology there. And I've been a part of the Canadian Youth Road Safety Council, I think, since 2021 when we started with Aiden. So I'll pass it along to him now.
Thanks, Kiana. So, hi everyone, I'm Aiden D'Souza. Like Kiana said, I was a part of the Youth World Safety Council since it first started. I'm a part-time student at Seneca Polytechnic and also an employee at Seneca. And I've studied different road safety courses and traffic investigation courses at Seneca as well. So happy to be here today.
Amazing. Okay, thank you, Aiden and Kiana. So what is the Youth Road Safety Design Jam? I know it was a little confusing, but this is not really a study. It's actually a collaborative, facilitated discussion with all of you on a variety of topics related to youth engagement and road safety. So we want to learn more about, what are some factors that impact your driving behavior or road use behavior? What are some barriers to safe driving and road use? How we can best engage you in road safety programming and initiatives? What are some areas of advocacy in your communities, and what are some potential solutions that we can do or use to address road safety issues in your community? So you might be wondering why we only want a youth who are Indigenous, living in rural and remote communities, and or newcomers to Canada. So the reason for that is that we noticed that we are not reaching many youth with our road safety messaging and programming. And there's a lot of limited research done on how we can best engage certain youth populations, such as Indigenous youth, newcomer youth, and youth living in rural and remote areas in road safety and safe driving behavior. So using your thoughts, ideas, and feedback in this design jam and other engagement initiatives, we are hoping to strengthen our road safety programs by making them more specific, more culturally responsive, as well as innovative and relevant to youth. And so by participating in this Youth Design Jam, you can contribute to shaping road safety programs and initiatives that do lead to safer young drivers and pedestrians, as well as decreasing injuries and death. So we also want to acknowledge that the Design Jam is supported by the Canadian Institutes of Health Research. So that's a little bit about what the Design Jam is. I want to go through what the next hour will look like for you and what you can expect. So we'll start off with talking about how to participate in the Design Jam, some ground rules to make sure everything goes smoothly. Then we'll do a little bit of polling to see who we have at the Design Jam, do some quizzing to test your knowledge on road safety statistics, and then we'll go into the facilitated discussion. We'll be using Google Jamboard to help us get your thoughts and opinions. And so for those of you who haven't used Google Jamboard before, we'll go through how to use it. It's very straightforward and simple to use. And then we'll wrap up, and you should be out of here by 6 o'clock Eastern. So in terms of how to participate, we want to make it very easy for you. So you can either participate by raising your hand and unmuting yourself, or using the chat function. When we go to the Google Jamboard section of the event, you can also use that to put down your thoughts, and we'll go over how to use that. There are some ground rules just to make sure everything goes well and smooth and everyone's being respectful. So first things first, if you can please change your name to your first name and last name, or you can use your last name initial. This will just help us to track who's here and participating in order to be eligible for the honorarium. We will be removing anyone who has not extended an invitation to the Design Jam. So if you don't want to be kicked out, please change your name. Please be respectful of everyone's opinion. Unacceptable behavior such as harassment, discrimination, or intimidation will not be tolerated, and you will be removed from the event. Please use the raise hand function or the chat function. It should be at the bottom, I believe under the reactions for the raise hand function. But if there are any issues, you can always just drop it in the chat and make sure that you're not interrupting others. Please also keep your audio on mute if you're not speaking, and then also try to make your comments and feedback brief and relevant to the topic, as a way to be respectful of people's times. So if you can keep yourself on mute, that would be great, and we'll get started. Okay, so we're going to do a bit of polling just to see who we have at the table. So let me just get the poll started. The first question is, how old are you? And these polls are anonymous. We just want to get an idea of who's there or who's here with us. So you can just, I believe, write your answer in the blank space. I can see who's participating, so everybody should be participating. Okay.
Well, I've written my age, but oh, okay. Actually, now it works. Okay.
Oh, good. Okay. Okay, we're gonna end the poll.
I just had to click outside the poll and then
Oh,
I
okay,
could click on
perfect.
submit.
Okay, amazing. Okay. We're gonna go to the next poll. Let's see if there are any issues. Okay. It's not letting me share the results, but that's okay. Oh, okay. So these are the results. I don't know if you can see them. We're gonna go to our next poll. Okay. Our next question, let me just go back to the PowerPoint, is what province or territories are you located in? Oh, sorry about that. I'm having some difficulties launching the poll. No, this is being a little weird. Okay, so if everybody can write down what province or territory they're from in the chat, that would be perfect. Well, I figure out what's going on with the poll. Okay, poll's being a little weird today, but that's okay. Let's take a look at what we have in the chat. So it looks like we have quite a few different provinces: Ontario, Saskatchewan, Alberta, Quebec, New Brunswick. So good variety here. That's great. Oh, and then what do you identify? So I have selected all that apply, but unfortunately we don't have the poll. So if you can tell me whether you identify as a First Nations, Métis, Inuit, living in a rural or remote area, or if you are a newcomer to Canada, that would be super helpful. And let me just see if I can get this going. Okay, I think I got it. There we go. Okay, poll is back in business. Okay, amazing. Thank you, everyone. And the next question is, what forms of transportation do you use in the community the most? I'm going to launch the poll because I finally got it working. So everybody should be able to see the poll now. So we have motor vehicle, public transport, active transport, or any other option that I'm missing. Please feel free to drop it in the chat. Okay, I'm gonna end the poll. Here are the results. So we got most people using motor vehicles, so that's great. And then our next question, oops, is do you have a Canadian driver's license? So let me just stop sharing and go to the next one. Okay. We have 3 people who are consistently not using the poll. So if you are having any trouble, just drop your answers in the chat and we'll collect that. That's totally fine. Okay, we're gonna end the poll. So amazing. We got quite a bit of diversity here in terms of, you know, what kind of or transportation you use, our demographic identity. Let me just stop sharing again. Okay. So thank you all so much for sharing that. We're going to go on to our next bit. We're going to do a bit of a quiz just to get you situated in terms of, you know, what youth road safety looks like in Canada and some statistics around it. So we have, I believe, 4 questions. We'll spend about 20 seconds. You'll have 20 seconds to answer each question. So I'm just going to launch it one by one. So the first one, oh, actually, sorry, I'm going to pass it off to Aiden, actually. I'll take care of the PowerPoint and Aiden will go through the questions with you.
Oh, I think that's Kiana for this one.
Oh, sorry, is it Kiana? Oh, my bad. Go ahead, Kiana.
Oh, that's all good. Yeah, I'll start it off. Okay, so for the first question, road crashes are the first, second, third, or 10th leading cause of death among young people in Canada. So you can go ahead and answer that poll there.
Okay. We didn't get everyone, but it's been 20 seconds. So I'm going to end the poll and share the results.
All right. So the answer is that road crashes are the third leading cause of death among young people in Canada. This does fluctuate year by year, but road crashes are almost always the top 3 for leading cause of death among young people in Canada.
Okay. Next one.
All right. So next question. So speeding is a factor in 1/4, 1/2, 1/3, or 2/3 of teen driver deaths in Canada. That should be open to answer there. All right. Okay, that's 20 seconds there. So the answer is that speeding is a factor in 1/3 of teen driver deaths in Canada. So more than 20% of deadly car crashes in Canada do involve speeding. Teens are also more likely to speed when other teens are with them in the vehicle. And then consequences of speeding include paying a fine, facing criminal charges, losing your license potentially, and even going to jail. And of course, the biggest consequences are injury or death of the driver themselves or others.
The next question. Alcohol is a factor in
Sorry.
alcohol is a factor in 1/4, 1/2, 1/3, or 2/3 of deaths in 16 to 25-year-old Canadians in motor vehicle crashes. So we'll put up the poll. And let's give it a couple more seconds. Okay, so alcohol is a factor in 1/2 of deaths in 16 to 25-year-old Canadians in motor vehicle crashes. 1/3 of Canadians who say they've driven impaired do most of their drinking with close friends, partners, or family members. At a blood alcohol concentration of 0.05, your coordination and judgment is reduced. So decreased ability to tracking moving objects, steering, it will become difficult, and you will be very hard to respond to emergency situations when this is happening. And we'll move on to the next question. Drivers who text while driving are up to 2, 3, 5, or 6 times more likely to be involved in a crash. And we'll just launch the
sorry.
poll.
That's the wrong one.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Just give it a minute. Okay. So drivers who text while driving are 6 times more likely to be involved in a crash. It's among one of the most riskiest things to do while driving. Texting uses 3 types of distraction: cognitive, manual, and visual. While texting is probably the most significant distracted driving activity amongst young people, distracted driving can be described as a range of activities, including talking on the phone, eating, looking for direction, and daydreaming.
Okay, amazing job, everyone. You got most of the questions right, which is great to see. I hope you also learned something new about road safety and how it impacts youth in Canada. So we're going to move on to our facilitated discussion part of the design jam. We'll be using Google Jamboard. So maybe if everybody can give a thumbs up if they've used Google Jamboard before. I just want to get a sense of who's used it, who's not used it. Okay, I don't think I see many thumbs up. I see one. Okay, that's great. Okay, let me just stop sharing and we're gonna go to, oh, there we go. We're gonna go onto our Google Jamboard. I'm gonna drop the link in the chat. If everybody can just get on that, that would be great. So I dropped the link in the chat and I'm gonna share my screen so everybody can see what's going on the Google Jamboard. Okay. I think people are slowly trickling in, which is great. Okay. So Google Jamboard is super simple to use. All you have to do is click on one of these things. So we have a couple options. You can go on the sticky note. You can type in your idea and press save. And that brings up your idea in a sticky note. So you can just contribute to the Google Jam. You could make it bigger, you can make it smaller, you can move it around wherever you want. You can also delete it. You can also write a text box, so you can just do this as well. So you have really 2 options here to contribute your ideas to the Google Jamboard. If you're more of a visual person, you can always, bring up an image. Might be a little bit time consuming, but it's best to just use the sticky notes as well as the text box on the side here, okay? So if you're having any issues, just drop your thoughts in the chat and we'll add them to the Jamboard as we go. And when you're answering when you're adding your ideas or answering the questions, just try to answer these questions from the perspective of the community that you belong to. So as an Indigenous person, as someone who's living in a rural or remote community, or if you are a newcomer to Canada. So this is our first question. What comes to mind when you hear road safety or you think about road safety? Is it stories that you heard before? Does it make you think about your community? Does it make you think about your car or mode of transportation? So feel free to add your thoughts into the Google Jamboard. Again, also, you can use the chat function and we can take a look at that. Drinking and driving. So we got a couple of great answers. So drinking and driving, campaigns like MAD, driving school, texting, driving, driving impaired, road quality and design, death. That's a fair answer. And if anybody wants to unmute and expand on their answer, please feel free to do that. So we got 14 participants. I want to see 14 stickies at least. So the MTO Driver's Handbook. For those of you who are not in Ontario, that's sort of the government resource that we have to learn about driving.
You can also think about being a pedestrian or riding a bike as well, instead of just driving a car too, if that helps.
Yeah, yes, great point, Kiana. We saw in our demographic, kind of questions that half of our participants here don't have a Canadian driver's license, so it's totally fine. Knowing the rules of the road. Great. Distracted driving, public transportation. Great. I'll give about 1 more minute for everybody to write down their thoughts in terms of what comes to mind when you hear about road safety. Drivers almost hitting you while you are crossing the road. Yep, pretty vivid experience when it comes to being on the road. Walking on the correct side of the road, never drink, text, or have some strong emotions while driving. Always look both ways when crossing an intersection. Great. Okay. Okay, great. These are all great thoughts. Maybe like 10 more seconds and we will go on to the next question, okay? 10 more seconds. Okay, great. Anybody want to unmute and talk about anything that they wrote or drop their thoughts in the chat? You can do that. Okay, we're going to move on to the next question then. So what do you think is the biggest road safety issue among youth in your community? Again, thinking about the community that you belong to, whether as an Indigenous person living in a rural or remote community, and or as a newcomer to Canada, what do you think is the biggest road safety issue among youth in your community? You can note down your answers according to the community that you belong to, and we do have 2 pages. So if you run out of room, you can always go to the next page. If you belong to more than one community, you can note down your answers across multiple categories. There are 2 slides, like I said, to put your answers in, but you only have to put on 1 slide if there's space. You can think about, what have you heard from your family members or friends, or you yourself have witnessed either in person or in the news. Okay, so under Indigenous, so far we have drinking and driving. Rural and remote, we have speeding, poor road quality, so unpaved, poor snow removal, texting and driving. Under newcomer, we have different driving rules. All really, really great points. Let me just see the next slide and see if there's anything there. Doesn't look like it. Okay, we got quite a few under rural and remote. So speeding on long roads, speeding, noise, potholes. Great, snow removal, 1-lane highways, potholes, poor road conditions. Anybody want to unmute and talk a little bit more about the road safety issue that impacts their community the most? Or you can, again, use the chat if you want to expand on your answers. I know the sticky notes have a bit of limited space. Speeding through school areas, texting and driving. Okay. Oh, Kaylee, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. Just thinking about like rural and remote, the drives are longer. Like I'm a student, so half the time I spend in my community and half the time I spend in a big city for university. And when I'm back home, the drives are like 30 minutes to get to a friend's house versus a 5-minute walk in my university community. And if I'm home for like the holidays or winter and stuff, a lot of the times the road conditions are bad. The snow removal is definitely, the budget's just not there in my home community compared to the budget it is in the big community I go to school in. So it's just more challenging to get places. It's longer drives, which inherently are riskier. And the budget isn't there to maintain the roads. I think Southern Ontario is like definitely prioritized, and Northern Ontario kind of gets forgotten when it comes to road maintenance and budget sometimes.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that, Kelly. Yeah, I think road infrastructure in rural and remote communities are a big issue, very systemic issue, and can contribute to injuries and deaths among not just youth, but the entire population. So really great insight. Thank you. We have a comment in the chat from Ben. Driving fatigue is a major thing too. Yep, for sure. You're busy with school, work, other things. you kind of underestimate how being tired plays a role in unsafe driving for sure. Any other thoughts? I could leave it for about a minute if you have any other thoughts about, what is the biggest road safety issue that you heard in the news, for example, in your local news, among your community, your friends, your family. We got speeding issues and no respect for pedestrians. Yep. Great. We got a lot for rural and remote, but not much for newcomer and indigenous, but that's okay. Okay.
I can add to newcomer.
Yeah, go for it.
I know a lot of my friends that I've met through university who are international students have really struggled to find access to a car to learn how to drive, or to find access to driver's education in general. And that also goes along with the different driving rules, even driving on a different side of a road is a big challenge for them as well.
Amazing. Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, accessibility is a huge, huge issue. And being new to the country, it's kind of amplified for sure. Great. Okay. Any last thoughts or comments about the biggest road safety issue among youth in your community? Okay. We're going to move on. So again, very similar kind of layout, but thinking about, what are some unique challenges or barriers in your community that would prevent you and your friends from being safe on the road? We know road safety is not the most glamorous topic. We know that some populations experience more challenges or barriers than others. What are something that you've experienced based on the community that you belong to? Thinking about road infrastructure issues, accessibility, any sort of societal or cultural norms that you think contribute to unsafe roads, as well as safe driving. What are some factors that you think make it challenging for you to be safe on the roads? So we got no sidewalks. Yeah, we got a couple of no sidewalks, no bike lanes, potholes. Potholes is a recurring theme in road safety. I think everybody has had a bad experience with potholes. No street lights, okay. You're forced to use a vehicle, which is inherently more dangerous than biking and walking. Yeah, that's a really good point for rural and remote communities where everything is a little bit more spread apart, and it's just not feasible to bike or walk, or even, there's no accessibility to public transport in rural and remote communities. Snow removal and not enough sidewalks. Yep. And then no bike lanes. I know we got a couple of newcomers, so they should be adding their thoughts into the newcomer section. Speedy drivers, bad drivers, yep. For those who wrote bad drivers, can you give an example of what you mean by bad? Are they not paying attention? Are they distracted? You gotta expand a little bit on what you mean by bad drivers. They're just not following the rules. Not experienced in Canada. ATVs on roads instead of trails, okay. That's a really good, unique perspective from a rural and remote community. Participant, great. Oh, I think we got a couple more in the chat. Lots of problems with that and snowmobiles. Yeah, so sharing the road, it seems to be kind of a tricky thing in some communities, especially when there's different avenues for transportation. It's quite different in urban versus rural settings. So in urban settings, you have to share the road with public transport, cyclists, pedestrians. In rural, it's more so different kind of motor vehicles, even animals. So lots of things to consider. Speeding and being noisy, animals. Please don't hurt them. Yeah. Bridgement for animals under or over roads. Yep. So again, a lot of infrastructure changes can make a huge difference in overcoming these challenges and barriers in different communities for sure. Does anybody want to unmute or use the chat to expand on their answers? Okay. Doesn't look like anybody is. So maybe I'll just give about a minute and then we can move on to the next question. Oh, we got a couple things. Lots of dump trucks at high speed. Yep. That's a good point. Again, sharing the roads. And that goes for all different types of road users. Truck users, car users, public transport users, everybody. Okay. If there are no other last thoughts, we're gonna move on to the next question. And that is, oh, sorry. Now, what would make you care more about or become excited about road safety? So like I mentioned before, it's not the most glamorous topic. It is very important, as we mentioned, or as we've talked about through our quiz, it's one of the leading causes of death for youth in Canada aged 15 to 24 years old. And I think we're just constantly hearing on the news about youth who have been injured or dying or involved in road crashes or, being victims of road crashes or survivors of road crashes. What would make you care about road safety? Is there anything that you've come across that sparked your interest in road safety or made you want to learn more? And again, if you want to unmute yourself or use the chat, don't be shy. Were there any kind of road safety advertisements that you saw that really sticks with you, that you've thought about? I know there's a few that have gone viral over the past few years. Okay, let me see. Got a few ideas coming in. So enforcing stricter rules until there's better funding in rural areas, I think most of the problems will prevail. And you make a very good point. I'm not sure who that is, but a lot of the issues are kind of like systemic, right? You can change somebody's behavior. You can get somebody interested in road safety and, get them to understand that road safety is a big issue and they should be driving safely. But until infrastructure is changed, we're not going to make as big of an impact as we want. So that's a very good point. And I'm glad that, youth are recognizing that is like a factor. So having a bigger voice when you see people disobeying the laws. Yep, really great. Relatability. Very concerned about it. That's good. Okay, good. Driving is dangerous. Nobody should take it lightly. Anytime you climb inside a car, whether driver or driven, you risk your life. Yep, driving is a privilege, as they say. And I think people underestimate how much complex behaviors go into driving. You have to use multiple parts of your brain and your body to drive. So all of that coming together, it can be difficult. Speed limit, got a couple of questions in the chat or a couple of comments in chat. So Zoom meetings and programs like this, great. I'm glad to hear that you would want to do more like this. And I believe there will be some future opportunities through Parachute and other organizations to do something like this. We have our youth council that we might potentially be starting up again that you can get involved in. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Skits like videos that are entertaining but educational. Yep, I think that's a big one. Relatability. Yep. Seeing other individuals texting and driving. That would make you care more. Okay. I was gonna say like that would get you excited. No, that would make you care more. That's fair. That's good. Any other thoughts on what would make you care more or become excited about road safety? How can we make this a more interesting topic to use? Because I know there are so many other priorities right now, things like climate change, mental health, housing affordability, but how road safety is also one of those important ones that are kind of just neglected. And we want to learn more about how we can make it an important issue because everyone is impacted by it. If you're a road user, if you're on the roads, everyone is impacted. Bringing speakers into the school, yep. School-based programming has been shown to be pretty effective, so that's a really good one. Any other thoughts? Yep, school programs. Let me just move that over so everybody can see. How distracted driving has become normalized. Yep. That's a good one. Distracted driving has become one of the biggest issues among youth and road safety. Money is a big concern these days. If safe driving cut costs, very good point. Insurance, registration, that could help people care more. And I do know that some insurance companies provide lower premiums if you take a driver's ed course, for example, but there should be other incentives as well. I totally agree with that. Kiana and Aiden, not to put you both on the spot, but do you have any thoughts about, what would make you personally care or become more excited about road safety?
I guess like one thing I guess that would make me a little excited if more organizations were like engaging towards youth, like showing, how we can, get youth involved, like the Youth Council, for example. I was excited to join that because it gave me the opportunity like to speak up and, give my ideas on road safety. So I guess something like that would be really good.
Awesome. Thanks, Aiden.
Yeah, I agree with Aiden on that one. I think just like more visibility in general for road safety. Like I know if I didn't know about the parachute organization, I don't think I would have found out about the Road Safety Council. Yeah, and just incentivizing opportunities for youth as well. Yeah, and I definitely agree with cutting costs on the cost of driving in general. That would be a huge motivator for youth as well.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you both for sharing. Yeah, one last comment here, free driving courses. Yes, so more accessibility and affordability of driving courses. It's very expensive, something that's indispensable for learning the right mind frame while driving. I did not go the typical, driver's ed route. I just hired a driving instructor and I did not get like that thorough instruction as I should have. So, and I think I like that makes a huge difference in your confidence to drive and your ability to drive. And while I'm older and a better driver now, I feel like it definitely made an impact in terms of my ability to drive. And then just documentaries. Okay, great. Amazing. These are all really, really good ideas and good points. Thank you all so much for sharing. Just really quickly, does anybody want to expand on their answers? Yeah, again, you can use the chat, you can unmute yourself, don't be shy. Okay. I am going to go on to the next question. And that's thinking about how would you like to receive road safety information or education? Thinking about what holds your attention. What platforms do you like to use to get information? Who do you like to receive information from? How do you like to receive information? So is that like, just through text, videos, images? What would you gravitate towards? TikTok? Okay, nice. You just gotta do a TikTok dance in our cars explaining road safety videos. Okay, amazing. Shorter videos. Define short. Short is very objective. So 1 minute, 2 minutes, 10 seconds. Zoom calls like this one. Awesome. I'm glad to hear that this is you're receptive to this. Videos on social media. Yep. 30 to 45 seconds. Okay, great. Yeah. Zoom calls, videos, and educational posters are best. So, in terms of what you would like to see through these platforms, can you tell me a little bit about what you'd like to see? Do you want to see animation? Do you want to see real people? Does it have to be colorful? Does it have to be funny? What are some ideas in terms of what you'd like to see? Parents caring enough to teach you. Yep, that's a huge factor. Parents are a big role model, and sometimes they don't have the time or they just don't want to make the time. Sometimes they don't have the accurate information to pass on to you. So animated videos, awesome. Influencers talking about road safety and paid partnership. So I have a question for that. Please feel free to share your thoughts. What does the general, audience think about influencers? If you see an influencer talking about road safety, Would you stop and watch the video? Would you scroll past it if you see paid partnership in the title or in the caption? Is that something that you would, gravitate towards? If you want to share your thoughts on that, please feel free to do that as well. Colorful, funny, and serious community events, maybe school programs. Internet is not good in many rural areas. That's a really good point. Yeah. So low bandwidth options, purely text or non-internet based options are best, especially local education programs. Yep. Really, really good point. Not all tech-based information and education is accessible to everyone. So that's a really good thing to be mindful of and create alternatives. So somebody wrote that they would not listen to influencers because they are getting paid to promote. Yeah, that's a good point. And I think that's what we're kind of finding now. It's that sometimes people are more skeptical of influencer-based videos, especially when they see it's a paid partnership and that the topic that they're talking about is not related to what they usually talk about. Yeah, as long as the influencer seems genuine. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, like I think if it's obvious they're reading a script, but if it's slipping in, make sure you wear your seatbelt in a vlog. Yeah, really good point. I like videos that show you how to be a good driver by showing bad examples in a comical way. Okay, great. Awesome. Okay, any other last thoughts on how you would like to receive road safety information or education? And again, please feel free to share in the chat. Or unmute yourself. I know everybody's being a little shy today, but that's okay. Okay, doesn't seem like there is. So we're going to move on to our next question. We're going to take a little bit more time with this question, and I want everyone to really think about this question because some of these ideas we can implement through Parachute. Like you can turn these ideas into something tangible, or we can at least consider these ideas and see if we can integrate it into a bigger plan going forward for road safety. So what are specific ways that roads can be made safer for youth in your community? So again, thinking about the community that you belong to, either Indigenous, rural or remote and or newcomer communities, what would make it easier for you to be safe in your community when it comes to road safety? Either as somebody who's driving a car or a vehicle, as a pedestrian, as someone who's using alternative modes of transport like public transport, cycling, ATV, snowmobiles, etc. So more road signs. That's great. Speed cameras and radars, better public transportation. Great. So a lot of these are kind of systemic factors, so more broad factors. But what can you or your friends, community members, organizations like us, like Parachute, who are focused on preventing injuries as well as keeping people safe on the roads, as well as the government, what can we all do? These different categories, what can we all do to make roads safer? And what do you think would be the best solution in your community? So you can, again, write down your solution within each category that you belong to. And as always, please use the chat or unmute yourself to talk a little bit more about what you wrote. So Nathaniel wrote paved shoulders with the line. Okay. I'm guessing this would be for rural or remote areas. Okay, great. Speed cameras and radars. So under Indigenous, we have so far speed cameras and radars, having proper roads instead of gravel roads. Okay, great. Rural and remote communities, so better public transportation. Sectioned off bike lines with more than just paint. Okay. More sidewalks and police present because we have none. Animal bridges. If it's over, it looks like just like side of road plenty. Parachute can promote better funding for infrastructure. Great, yeah. Better snow removal, increased funding for Northern Ontario, 2-laning the highways. Great. A lot of great ideas for rural and remote communities. And then for newcomer communities, more road signs with words. Great, yeah. Sometimes, yeah, that's a totally valid point. The visuals, the icons, or the pictures, it's just really hard to determine what those mean. And there are a million different types of signs. So, it's really hard sometimes to keep all of those straight in your head. if there's no like instruction or words to tell you what that means. More serious training on the roads during the day or night, rainy or snowy days in towns or the suburbs. Yeah, that's a really good point. So being mindful of the weather and how you can accommodate for that. So a lot of these are, again, like I said, so they're more broader factors. Can we talk about also some ways that you yourself and you and your friends can be safer on the roads? What are some changes to your behavior that you can do to make yourself more safer or safer and your community members safer on the roads? So we got cleaning and maintaining bus stops. Okay, gritty edges that are really loud so you don't swerve off roads. Nice. A lot of thought has gone into road infrastructure in your area, which is really good. That's really good to have these specific ideas for sure. Any other thoughts on specific ways that roads can be made safer for youth in your community? Again, thinking also about you yourself, your friends, and your community members. What are some behaviors that you think we should be doing? So, okay, one person wrote, we can shame our friends to drive safer. Yep, a little bit of shame never hurts, I think. Be mindful that you aren't the only one using the road and learning how to cooperate with other road users. Yep, again, sharing the road is something that is highly overlooked, especially in some areas that might have to rely more on certain modes of transportation. Fake speed cameras, okay, yeah. Oops. Causes same effect, but not as costly. That's under the rural and remote community section. Don't walk at nighttime unless you wear reflective clothing. Yep, again, really, really good point. Any other thoughts? What are some specific ways? If you had a magic wand or unlimited amounts of money, you know, how would you change the roads to make it safer and so nobody in your community has to get injured or pass away? What would you do? Oh, we got a couple more. Better training for people using unusual vehicles. Okay, like snowmobiles, tractors, ATVs, etc. Great. Any other thoughts? Having conversations about road safety with friends and others. Good point. Yep. I feel like, again, I feel like people don't have conversations about road safety until, you know, something may happen in the news, which is totally fine, you know. At the very least, the conversation is going. Let me see what we got in the chat. Add center line reflectors. Awesome. I'm going to also move this so we can see that. I'm not sure which category this was meant for, but we'll just leave it in the corner there. Any other thoughts? Those of you who identify as Indigenous or newcomers, any other thoughts in terms of what are some specific ways that we can make the road safer? Nope. It doesn't look like anything else is in the chat. Okay. Oh, if you have a vehicle that is silent, yell out your window. I did not know that was a thing. That's pretty cool. Okay. So others know you're here. Okay, interesting. Okay, we are going to go on to, oh, there's more still coming in. Okay, never mind. Designated trucking routes, keeping large vehicles away from local traffic. Okay. We got a ton of thoughts under rural and remote, which is really great. These are super helpful and will definitely be useful in terms of, you know, what are some ways we can engage rural and remote youth, or, you know, make changes to rural and remote road infrastructure. Okay. We are going to our last question, which is just any last comments or thoughts about road safety, youth engagement that you didn't have a chance to put down initially. So anything, you know, thinking about, again, what community you belong to, What would help your community be more safer or just safer on the roads? Anything you didn't get a chance to share, you can just write down here. It's a free for all. Push for animal bridges in rural and remote communities. Yes, that's a good idea in terms of, you know, priorities for rural and remote communities. Major concern is not behavioral, but governmental and administrative in rural communities. Excellent point. I think not just rural communities, just everywhere. Behavior, like I had mentioned before, changing behavior is not the end all be all of promoting safe roads. Bigger impact will be through policy, through advocacy, through government structures. Yeah, law enforcement, the more police present. I highly encourage everyone, if any of these things are concerning to you, to reach out to your elected officials. You know, there are some resources on the Parachute website on how you can do that. So please feel free to check it out. Having free driver's education. Yep. I'm hoping in my lifetime that I'll see this. That would be amazing. I think that will be a huge step, like huge step in terms of keeping the road safer. Any other comments or thoughts? Again, please feel free to use the chat or unmute yourselves. I think it would be beneficial to have educational and entertaining presentations in high school. I know there are quite a few organizations out there that do that. So I feel like maybe many of you have seen the MAD presentations. We're connected to one called Weed Out the Risk. That's talking about cannabis use and driving. That's a good one. They also have a website that you can check out. Breathalyzer that doesn't let you drive unless you are not drinking. Put those in every car. Expensive, but lower the cost. Yep. Car-centered infrastructure is trash. Very strong opinion. And I'm sure there are many that would agree with that for sure. So let me just move this out of the way so I can see what's underneath. Okay. Many places in rural areas know where and when police are around and abuse this. That's a good point. Random patrols might help. Great. Yeah. So more efficient and effective law enforcement is important for sure. Yeah, we have a comment in the chat by Suk. Let me see. I agree with the presentations. I have seen MAD before. They are very impactful. Yep. I have seen the MAD presentation when I was in middle school, which was ages ago, and I still think about it. After some ages, people should stop driving after parties. It's better not to use your car, take a cab or Uber. Don't rush to get to the destination. Yep. All really, really, really great points. Okay, maybe about 10 more seconds or a minute. We have a couple of presentations coming in. Same here, I agree. I don't forget the presentations. Okay. I think I just saw another comment. I lost which one it was, but okay. Okay, great. Amazing job, everyone. This was incredibly helpful. It's good to hear everybody's thoughts. It's good to think about things that, you know, we hadn't thought about before. And we're hoping by taking this information, we can put forth to organizations, the government, whoever is controlling the money, about, you know, what are some priorities for youth in terms of road safety. And I highly encourage, if road safety is something that you care about, if you've been impacted by it, that you, you know, find avenues to get more involved, whether that's through advocacy, through helping organizations shape their programming, by joining youth councils. There are so many avenues that you can do or you go through to become more involved in road safety, and, you know, influencing the road safety in your community. So I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to go back to my presentation. I go through everything. Okay, there we go. So that's it for today. Just a couple of items to wrap up. I just want to say a big thank you to all of you so much for being here on a Tuesday afternoon, evening, wherever you are located in Canada. I also want to acknowledge the support of the Canadian Institutes for Health Research for making this design jam possible. If you have not already, please email your mailing address to my email. This is the email you've been getting. Just use that. It's also up on the screen here. I will also be sending out an email with our survey, so you can always respond back to that email as well. We have a super short survey, super short. It'll take you like 3 minutes. Just please fill out that survey. It will be incredibly helpful for us to make some improvements in the future and see if we want to host more events like this. And that's pretty much it. I just want to say again, thank you for participating. And if you like more information or if you would like to connect, please feel free to reach out. If you want to stay connected to Parachute and updated on opportunities like this, you can always subscribe to our newsletters, and you can see that at parachute.ca. And that's pretty much it. Thank you all again so much for being here. I hope this was a good experience. Again, if you have any feedback, please do it through the survey, or you can email me. And I hope everyone has a great rest of their day. Thanks, everyone. Take care.